Hey guys, after the success of last video, I wanted to do another challenge run. So today we are doing a plasma pistol only challenge, which, yeah, it was pretty rough at times, but genuinely pretty fun. Although at times I have another run idea I want to do and I'm like, man, I wish I did that instead because this is abysmal. So, first off, we did set some ground rules. First rule is no melee. I wanted to use the plasma pistol to its fullest, and it's a punching animation anyway, so technically not even a kill or damage with the plasma pistol that way. Second rule is no vehicle splatters, and the main weapons on the vehicle, like a ghost, are not allowed. No grenade kills, but I can use them as well as a brute shot for grenade jumps. And I did try and start it on Legendary, however, that was a very, very regretful decision, to say the least. Realistically, Halo 3's Legendary isn't anything too crazy, so I thought maybe it'd be worth it. However, I was dead wrong. The plasma pistol in Halo 3 is just so ass compared to especially C's. So, in the end, I had to go with Heroic. And that leaves us with the question, can I beat Halo 3 with only the plasma pistol? Now, the start of any challenge run is always going to be the most interesting, right? And especially for weapon-specific ones where you have to just figure out the earliest point in the game where you can acquire said weapon, right? With RPGs, it's a lot more just, yeah, go out to the location and get it right away. But in a linear, campaign, FPS, we really gotta figure out a just definitive point along the path that we can just get the weapon and start, playing through. Thankfully, on Sierra 117, there's very early on this Covenant supply crate that has 2 fully charged plasma pistols just laying here right at the start of the game, which was really nice. With an extra bonus is that, yeah, the Halo 3 plasma pistol, when it comes to, its actual damage, is not nearly as good as it is in other games, but instead of having 2 shots per energy percentage in Halo 3, it has 3 shots per energy percentage, which is really nice, right? And the first zone wasn't that big of a deal. Even on Legendary, it wasn't too crazy. However, the second zone on Legendary was as awful as can be. Thankfully, due to toning it down to Heroic, we did just, casually get through, as well as, learning a few things of what locations to go, what guys to fight first with the plasma pistol, It was pretty useful. So the main thing is we wipe out the grunts on the lower area as quick as possible, move up through the brutes. Thankfully, the brute shot guys aren't, as prolific around here, as predominant, compared to Legendary, which was another bonus of having Heroic on, is far less brute shots to just wipe you out and completely take away all your joy, right? But yeah, we wipe out the brutes, we head up the side of the cliff, save the Marine, and continue on forth, wipe out another squad, and finally get to, you know, the PTSD scene, but as well as the third zone, you know, third combat area, where this is where I was just like, fuck this, we're not playing this on Legendary. That's just not gonna be fun or worth the time, right? And yeah, I'm very glad I went with Heroic because this section was just way more, you know, feasible, way more fun, far less annoying, right? The plasma pistol, it's cool, and it's still not half bad in Halo 3, it's just, in Legendary especially, it's not very useful at all, right? A big part of the game's sandbox is that all the weapons are useful, so the plasma pistol is de facto less useful because there's no energy shields to really wipe out in the campaign, right? Since the brutes have their armor as, you know, the replacement for energy shields. And it's, you know, a permanent break, so you don't need to worry about, you know, killing them as fast as you can, right? You can break their shields with anything you want and then headshot. But yeah, we continue through the area into the Sniper Jackal, you know, hallway, basically, right? Which, yeah, that was the main death of this level for Heroic, was the Sniper Jackal with the beam rifle all the way up top. Which, not a big deal, we just died, learned from our mistake, and we continue through the level into the next zone, where, yeah, it was a bit slow, but generally just kind of the same. The only thing that kind of sucks is, yeah, since we're doing a single weapon playthrough, I can't really loot the downed Pelican. So, yeah, not exactly how I like to play the level, but, you know, we gotta deal with it, right? We have the plasma pistol, that's all we need, right? And once we leave this area, we can finally start our little, you know, rescue mission for Johnson, where I just took the executive decision to just use the underpassage to go directly, you know, as close as possible to the holding area. We free Johnson and wipe out any enemies that are around. Thankfully, Arbiter, you know, Marine allies, and the Pelican wiped out any of the extreme units in the area that would be a bit more trouble for me, mainly the Brute Chieftain. Something I learned later on is seemingly the plasma pistol is completely incapable of doing any serious damage to a Brute Chieftain, to the point where they are basically invincible, you know, fighting it. It's not too far into the video, so I guess I'll just say it, but during Crow's Nest, which, hey, you know, here we are, we're at Crow's Nest now, down the level, when you have to fight that Brute Chieftain and his squad, it was what took me the longest. I went through the level pretty quickly, and yeah, no, we just fight our way through the tunnel. We go ahead and just do the holdout section for the Pelican, right? Fight off all the enemies in the area. It wasn't that hard. The Phantoms didn't target me all that much. I had one death, maybe two here, if I remember right. And we push on through, right? It wasn't that hard. But on the return, I was really surprised at how much damage drones actually take from plasma pistols, which was really nice. They died pretty quickly, so I was pretty, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm like, hey, we're doing really well. We're going through this pretty quickly for just a plasma pistol only run, right? But then we get to the, you know, Brute Chieftain area where I was just dying and dying and dying because there's so many brutes. All I can do are, you know, use plasma pistols, and there's like 3 in this area that are fully charged that are on the ground, so I have quite a lot of ammo. However, once I wiped out in my best run of this area, I wiped out all the other brutes, and I ended up literally using all the energy, all the ammo from all 3 of those maxed out plasma pistols on the Brute Chieftain, and then just got a little annoyed and smacked him in the face at some point. And seeing as I didn't kill him, and his, invincibility was used a long time ago, like, if it was doing a reasonable amount of damage to the point where they could eventually kill him, that singular punch to the face would have instantly... he would have been dead, right? Just undeniably, he would have been dead. So it was very clear to me that plasma pistols do not... I don't know specifically, but it feels like it at least, that they do not do damage to chieftains past destroying their shields, their armor, right? So, for the rest of the run, it was a little rule of, no melee unless required, which worked out because something like Tsavo Highway, right, we have the energy barriers, the vehicle barriers where you have to, punch them or shoot them. With, I didn't spend enough time shooting them with the plasma pistol, I just want to get through the level, so I ended up punching it, and I just kind of had the rule that, even though I didn't fight this chieftain and, knock him out, by punching him because I could just go past, I just kind of had a rule, especially because I knew, the arc was going to be coming up not too far from now, right? That we're going to have to kill a chieftain at some point, guaranteed, right? So I'd rather just take the rule and just add a bit to it than just completely try and figure out what needs to be done, right? I couldn't do anything about the chieftain in the arc, so that worked out, right? However, we continue going through Crow's Nest, and we finally link it with Arby. I did kind of consider maybe doing the gravity hammer launch here if, the chieftain did die. However, he didn't, so no matter what, we were going through the barracks, which was a bit rough, right? Even on heroic, the plasma pistol is just kind of... it sucks. It honestly does suck. I ended up using the Vents to just kind of skip to some of the captured Marines. They'd pick up guns and help out a lot, which, worked out because them and Arby just destroyed the, remaining enemies I stripped shields from, as well as the Brute Chieftain, and we continued on to evac, where I mainly just wanted to keep these jetpack brutes here. Their AI is pretty much disabled if you go ahead and prevent them from leaving this area when the bulkhead opens. So I just did that, shot them a bunch, killed them, went up top, got a invis for, reactivating the bomb, which, that's pretty much the rest of the level. Is we wipe out the grunts and jackals in the area towards the bomb, and then we invis, activate the bomb, and rush out to the end of the level. And next up is, Tsavo Highway. With this level just being very entertaining as a whole, right? 99% of it's just driving. And the one bonus is after seeing, I don't remember who it was, but they did a Halo 3 video, and there's this little grav lift when you first run into Brute Choppers. So you use that to get over the broken part of the bridge, guaranteed, and you just drive throughout the rest of the level. I did end up getting a Brute Chopper towards the end to get to the top where the Wraiths are. However, I couldn't really do anything without plasma pistols or enough, energy to kill off the jump pack brutes and such towards the end of the level, so I just waited for a spawn-in of Marines and a Warthog, and just had them do everything. And that is all of Tsavo Highway. It's pretty much a pacifist run for this level.
Lord Hood, we made it.
Music to my ears, Commander. What about the Ark?
Fully uncovered, sir.
We don't have much time. Marines? The Prophet of Truth doesn't know it yet, but he's about to get kicked right off his throne.
Similar to Savo Highway, the storm's going to be a lot of, let's have the Marines do it, they're going to have rocket launchers to take out the joins of the Scarab and quickly wipe out any vehicles and AA rates in the area, right? One thing I was pretty happy about with this level, though, is learning that, yeah, the Plasma Pistol does do enough damage to kill a Scarab within a reasonable amount of time, right? It can't destroy the joints, however, it can destroy the core. So we didn't need to melee it or anything, we just straight up destroyed the Scarab with the Plasma Pistol and continued on through the level. Where we did take a rocket launcher with us from the previous area to make sure that a Marine was around to knock out the Hunters and hopefully the Chieftain in the next zone, and thankfully, yeah, that worked out. The Marines didn't do so well towards the end with the Chieftain, but RB and what little I could do, thankfully, was enough to kill the Chieftain. We also got a chance to use a sort of like speedrun technique where you can just snipe the Tyrant AA gun from a distance, which thankfully the Plasma Pistol can do damage, and with just some simple timing, we can just predict when the projectiles will hit and fire early, meaning the Plasma Pistol can destroy the Tyrant AA gun as well as from this range, saving us a lot of combat and time. But Floodgate was going to be a different story entirely. Because in Flood missions, other than a very few select areas, Flood units do not spawn with Plasma Pistols. And seeing as their main users are Grunts and Jackals, there isn't anything to be infected to go ahead and use a Plasma Pistol against us. Meaning, this is a run to the end as quick as possible kind of level. I tried to shield bump towards the end, learning that trick. However, didn't really work out, so I just darted past the enemies to get through the level, finishing Floodgate in a pretty okay time for fucking, dicking around the whole time. So, there we are. We can finally get to the Ark, where we sadly do get our hands on Plasma Pistols, but it's a vehicle level, so it is once again Marine inside of a Mongoose with me, and we just go around doing everything that way up until we get to the Scarab, where I once again board the Scarab, destroy its core with the Plasma Pistol, and continue on through the level. We take the Marine with us up the ramp, and inside the building, where they kill everything the best they can, up until they sadly died. Where now it's back to, having to use the Plasma Pistols. And the one required melee of the run is, I guess, the key aspect of this level when it comes to the Plasma Pistol only playthrough, right? It is just vehicle level up until this, right? Where we have one of two required punches in the entire run, being the Brute Chieftain that wants to solo you, which we quickly smack in the back, get his invulnerability, and wipe out his friends with the Plasma Pistol and invulnerability, finishing the Ark pretty quickly. Where we now enter the endgame, the Covenant being the crescendo of the run, where it is genuinely the last level where we get to use the Plasma Pistol. That's right, Cortana, we don't get a chance to use Plasma Pistols because there's only a few enemies that carry them, and we don't have Plasma Pistols to kill them to begin with, so we're kind of screwed there. And then Halo, well, that level, there are no Plasma Pistols for me to grab, so it's just hold out, right? But, getting sidetracked, let's get back to the Covenant. Which, yes, finally, something again. First, we storm the beach, and we, instead of, usual of, using a Spartan laser, we give it to a Marine. They take out some of the big targets, whilst I use my Plasma Pistol to wipe out anything extra. The AA Wraith ended up being a bit awkward. It ended up boosting off the little cliff edge when I was low on ammo, and thought that I, couldn't kill it with the plasma pistol, so I just brought over some Covenant fusion coil little barrels, right? The energy cells, blew them up to no effect, but, just eventually just tried to kill it, and finally the AA Wraith was destroyed, where we got to continue the level, driving over to the first tower, where a Marine used her Warthog turret to wipe out all the major units, where then I headed inside, did some parkour to get to the top of the tower, where something really entertaining happened, right? So, realistically, we would have had to do 3 melee back kills in this run because of the Brute Chieftains. However, for whatever reason, one of the Brutes decided to kill the Chieftain, and seeing as he's, using the wall as cover, I'm assuming it's that whole glitch where, if you've ever played Halo and a Marine or someone has used cover near you and you get launched at Mach fuck towards a wall, I'm pretty sure that's what happened to this Brute Chieftain right here, which saved us a whole melee for the run. So, that was really, really nice. But we clear out the tower, deactivate it, and get out as quick as possible. Where then we get back to the beach, get in a Hornet, and go ahead and just get to the lowest area possible before ascending back up to the third tower, destroying the AA Wraiths after a little bit of finagling, right? It took a bit, but eventually we got the AA Wraiths, and then just darted inside the building, where we had our second and final melee kill of the whole run, being this Brute Chieftain up here, where we quickly kill him, make sure all of his invisible guys are dead, take out the tower, flutter back, and now we exit, take a Warthog, and just zoom past everything. Where the awkward part came in, because I attempted a lot of different things to get the Hornet to not die when it comes to fighting the Scarabs. It took a while to eventually actually get it, but we did manage to get all the way through, and then reach the cool part of this level where the Flood are revealed to now be temporary allies. We now kill the Prophet of Truth and escape through the level as quick as possible, and see Cortana, guiding us. We, see the new version of Alpha Halo, and we now go off to the rest of the run, which has no plasma pistol usage whatsoever. And Cortana is pretty much where the run loses all of its, special bits, right? We're still not gonna kill anything unless it's with the plasma pistol. However, it becomes a pacifist level because there are no plasma pistols other than these few Flood elites towards the end in the reactor room. And that's really it. It's just getting through as fast as possible. I didn't have any issues until towards the end. But yeah, Cortana wasn't as bad as I thought it wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be, right? I thought I'd do a lot worse. So much so that, the main reason I even, did this challenge video is because I wanted to, beat game in 3 hours achievement, turn that into a video, because, people I watch do that, you make what you like. And I didn't have so much, faith in myself to actually do it. So I'm like, hey, here's something easier. Beat the game with only plasma pistols because it'd be stupid. And yeah, honestly, it was a good idea. Because I did get a lot more faith in my ability to just, get through the game a lot quicker, especially with difficult levels like Cortana, where it's known for just being a slog, right? So, that's definitely something I'll do in the future. But a big thing I definitely got verified in this challenge run, as well as will still do and wanted to do, is a Spiker only video, right? Because that'd be fun. Another thing I'd like to do is SMGs only, right? The more like awkward weapons of Halo 3. It would be really fun to do that. However, I don't know how power weapon videos would work, maybe? Like, Halo 3, but I can only use the Spartan laser. Alright guys, it was a pacifist run until the Covenant where I get to use this weapon 5 times. You know, I don't know how a video like that would work. It'd be stupid as shit, right? But, you know, that's the whole point, I guess, is it has to be something just ridiculous. Maybe even just a video where it's, hey, you can only get kills with, you know, power weapons, but it has to be the biggest multi-kill you can manage in the area, right? That'd be kind of cool. However, after Cortana, we have Halo, the Halo 3 version, where it is, once again, just a holdout where we don't get to do anything at all. We have to wait until basically the Guilty Spark boss fight to do anything, where we don't even get to use a plasma pistol. Where we kill Guilty Spark, rush on out through the cave and the tunnel and all over the place, right? And now we get the Warthog run, which I went out of my way to not splatter anything during the Warthog run. I think there was like one accidental splatter, so rest in peace, Flood, for ruining my entire run. But yeah, that's it. So, did I beat Halo 3 with only a plasma pistol? Kinda. Too much of the game can be just turned into pacifism or vehicle level, and I don't know. I did put, you know, some decent ground rules of just, hey, you know, here's some basic things I can do to make it a bit more interesting than just plasma pistol, right? No melee, no grenades, I don't use equipment to go ahead and kill everything either, right? It has to be kills with the plasma pistol unless it's required otherwise. Which, yeah, fun run. So, I guess that will be it. See you next time. Hey you! You made it to the end of the video. Nice job. So, now, I guess you gotta click this big button on the left right here. Yeah. Click it.